Meeting to order at 5:30. Roll call. Council at large Boots.
Here.
At large Spear.
Here.
Council Ward number 1 Leeper.
Here.
Ward number 2 Anderson.
Here.
And Ward number 3 McNeil.
Here.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. For the communications section, unscheduled. If anybody would like to address the council. Oh wait, no, I skipped ahead. Sorry, I just got back from vacation on Saturday. Yes. Thank you. The agenda. Are there any additions to the agenda? Seeing that there are none, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Spear with the first.
Second.
And Boots with the second.
Anderson?
Yes.
Spear?
Yes.
Leeper?
Yes.
McNeil?
Yes.
Boots?
Yes.
All right, so now to the unscheduled communications. If anybody would like to address the council, you can step up to the podium and just make sure you state your name and address for the record.
Larry Hodgson, 210 6th Street, Tipton. And first of all, I'd like to thank the council for the move, the change that you made in meeting here in the fire station, because I know we've had some rather large crowds in the past, and I see a lot of regular attendees who are now coming who didn't used to. And I know that it makes it a lot easier for people who might have a little difficulty climbing those stairs. This is much easier for them to access these meetings, so appreciate that. I would like to have you consider and think about, and it's been talked about before, but perhaps changing the meeting time to a more conducive time, something a little easier for the general public, because 5:30 is pretty much right in the middle of everybody's evening meals or whatever. I happen to know that if I was a young mayor and had 2 young kids at home and a wife, about this time of the evening, she might appreciate some help with supper, getting those kids to bed and stuff, and then so maybe a little later meeting time I think would be helpful for a lot of people. On the agenda tonight, you're talking about perhaps making a decision on when you're going to start your process for hiring a permanent replacement for the manager. And I know you have 2 options, and I would like to strongly recommend that you consider the option which would hire someone in next spring rather than this fall. And the reason for that is, I think, as Mr. Long has noted before, he thought we might have a meeting dealing with Tipton's finances where we are, because there's a lot of things up in the air right now. First of all, we haven't seen the sewer report. We don't know where we are on that. We still have a lot of street issues that need to be addressed. We're carrying a lot of debt, which needs to be paid down. And as Floyd has mentioned previously, the electric department has a lot of needs that need to be met. So I think the citizens, the residents, the taxpayers of Tipton deserve to know exactly where the city of Tipton stands financially, what we're looking at for obligations in the future, and how we're going to meet those obligations. Basically, that's why I think you should delay that until after the first of the year. Thankfully, Mr. Long has agreed to stay with us at least till May of next year. And I know that he's finding things that need to be updated and corrected and things that haven't been done. And I'd like to see him continue doing that and help lay the groundwork for the next manager. And that would also give us time between now and the end of the year to actually find out where we are and get ourselves set for another manager to come in, so he would know, and Callahan would also know what exactly we're facing and what kind of a manager is going to take. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. none, we'll close that portion of the meeting and move on to the consent agenda, which will approve the council minutes from August 1st and accept the treasurer's and investment reports. Do any of these need to be discussed? Is there a motion for the approval?
I'll make that motion.
Boots with the first. And McNeil with the second.
Spear?
Yes.
Lieber?
Yes.
McNeil? Boots?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
All right, so that has been approved, and now moving down to the mayoral proclamation, which we were approached a couple weeks ago to ask if we could designate August 20th of 2016 the Keith Whitlatch Recognition Day, which we will do. And I'll quickly read through the proclamation. It says that whereas Keith Whitlatch served Cedar County, Iowa as its sheriff for 22 years from 1977 through 1999 and served in law enforcement in Tipton beginning in 1965. And whereas Sheriff Whitlatch served with scores of Tipton and Cedar County law enforcement, local government, and judicial officials during his term as sheriff. And whereas the Friends of retired Sheriff Keith Whitlatch are hosting Sheriff Keith Whitlatch Day to acknowledge his career and work in the interest of the public safety of the citizens and visitors of Cedar County, Iowa. Now therefore be it proclaimed that Saturday, August 20th, 2016 shall be Sheriff Keith Whitlatch Day with a ceremony in his honor to be held at 2 p.m. and other events beginning at 10 a.m. that day to be held at the old Cedar County Jail at 4th and Lynn Streets in Tipton, Iowa. There you go. So that was good. He served us for a long time, so it wasn't too hard to come up with this proclamation. All right, moving on to the motions for approval. The first one is the claims list. Are there any claims that you guys want to pull out?
I'd like to ask about the Stuart Irby, and it's for Interduct. I'm going to assume for the aquatic.
Interduct is electrical conduit for varying high tension line, and this is either for the library project or probably more likely the distribution circuitry that was run to co-op, the co-op on the east side of town.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess I was thinking maybe it was something to do with the aquatic center, and
It was in the neighborhood of the aquatic
Center, yeah.
It was unfortunately had something to do with the aquatic center, because I think if this is that interduct, that was the trench that they wound up trenching through the geothermal system.
Right. I guess my question would be, is have we begun any work at the aquatic center? As far as using any of the money we've...
No.
No.
And I think I spoke briefly about this a month or so ago, and Adam and I have been talking about it, that given the scope of things to fix and the complexities involved and the timing that we have to be mindful of, it's my recommendation that we solicit the services of an engineering firm with competency and experience in pools to help set a spec and project list and set up timing so that we can get this various and sundry projects bid out and done. And this is a project, again, that Adam and I had talked about in the late spring, and here it is August. So we would like to get proposals in front of the council.
Okay.
We've had interest from several firms that appear to have competency in this field.
Is it important for us to do some kind of roof work before the winter?
It's not going to get any worse
Okay.
over the course of winter. The roof is a unique set of challenges, to be sure.
Okay, thank you.
Any other thing to discuss on the claims list? All right, is there a motion to approve the claims list?
So moved.
Anderson with the first,
I'll second.
and Spear with the second.
Lieber?
Yes.
McNeil?
Yes.
Boots?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Spear?
Yes.
Okay, so the next one is the discussion and consideration to change the Monday, September 5th meeting to Wednesday, September 7th, because September 5th is the Labor Day. Is everybody all right with that? What do you think? Judith, Leanne, you being talented? All right. Is there a motion to approve that? Boots with the first. And McNeil with the second.
McNeil?
Yes.
Boots?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Spear?
Yes.
Weaver?
Yes.
All right, so then that means the next meeting will be on a Wednesday instead of a Monday. Wednesday, September 7th. And now to the next one, two alternates from Callahan Municipal Consultants for the city manager search process timeline. As was brought up earlier. Does anyone have any discussion on that, or?
Add a little bit to that.
Well, yeah, you start talking and then we'll.
All right, Ken. So to follow on comments Mr. Hodgson made earlier, yes, I am available and would be pleased if it serves your purpose and suits you to stay through May of 2017. And I had also talked to the mayor and several of you about the possibility if you were to retain a manager prior to that, I could, at your discretion, stay on for specific projects that are difficult to get time for, but that would be a discussion later down the road. But yes, I would be glad to continue to serve at your pleasure until May of 17. Spoke with Pat Callahan this afternoon. Apologize he couldn't be in two meetings at once. But he sent a copy of a letter that he'd sent to one of his client cities that he's considered doing a search for this year as well. He observed that in his years in city management in Iowa, he has never seen so many vacancies in Iowa. Right now, at this very moment, there are 15 vacancies, and they're scrambling for valid candidates. It's kind of the wrong time of the year. Most managers of that age who have kids in school aren't eager to move mid-year. A lot of people just don't want to move mid-year, period. So his recommendation, based on his observation, is it would be beneficial to you to wait when there will be potentially more candidates. That's it in a nutshell.
Well, I'm speaking purely for personal reasons, but being at the Christmas season in retail makes it almost impossible to squeak out a day because of just the sheer volume of business we run during the Christmas season. And I'm on the personnel committee and finding days off, and I've been through this before and I know how much time it takes. I'd highly recommend the second option.
And I agree with the moving in the middle of the winter. People aren't going to want to do that. But I also selfishly would like to see you stay with us to get through maybe budget time. So we're all selfish.
Looking forward to it.
Well, I can speak from experience. I never went to one school for a whole year until I was in the 6th grade, and that was in Grinnell, Iowa. I was in 3 different first grades. I was in 3 or 4 different second grades. Same way with 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. I made it through the whole year in one school, and that was in Grinnell. And 7th grade we moved. I made it through the 8th grade in one school in Texas. Midterm freshman year, we moved back to Iowa, and that's the longest I ever went to one school for in my lifetime was 3.5 years till I graduated from high school in Newton, Iowa in 1959. And people want to know if my dad was in the military. He was but this was after he got out of the military. He was a minister, and we moved a lot. And I interviewed with a man one time. He said, "What does that do to a kid?" I said, "Well, either make him an introvert or an extrovert." He said, "Well, which are you?" I said, "Well, I'm no introvert." And the only stranger that I know of is somebody I haven't met yet. So it didn't
Go with option
do
B
me a
as well.
whole lot of bad. It just gave me a wider wider range of what we can do.
Yep. Alright, so then, got a couple over there that said that they would go with option B, the longer one. Or I guess the later timeline, I guess that would be. For option B, for the May timeline, alright.
I'll second.
McNeil has made the first for the May timeline, and Boots has made the second.
Boots?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Spear?
Yes.
Leeper?
Yes.
McNeil?
Okay, so you're finally on the clock, Mr. Long.
You can make a plan.
The long ball.
All right, so then the next one is the
No
refuse
pun intended.
Reimbursement charges for 204 East 4th Street. And you want to explain a little bit of that?
Sure. This is an instance where a person, Ms. Hurd owns several properties in town, and there are two on East 4th Street. They're across the street from each other. These two properties have 3 residential dwelling units each. They have the buildings have 1 water service, so there's only 1 water meter per dwelling, which means that in order for the city to create an account that sets up for the billing for those individual water meters, it sets up within its software a separate account. And so we came up, the collective royalty came up with a separate account that not only established water usage charge for that building, but also created a refuse charge. So for the 2 buildings, 3 units each, total of 6 units, the city was properly billing for refuse for each of the apartments. So each apartment was paying their $18 or whatever it was earlier for their refuse container. Additionally, there were charges for refuse container that came with that additional water service for Ms. Hurd's property. And our code states that we are to provide for billing for every address, not for every account. It's an interpretation, I think, from much earlier that said, well, if there's an account, there's to be a garbage charge as well, but we're already picking up garbage, and it's my observation in this rather lengthy dissection of the situation that we do not have the ability to charge for an additional garbage container when one is not being delivered or picked up. So when staff went back through the billings for Ms. Hurd's account, we totaled up $2,407.92 that have been paid to the city since 2000 for garbage they've been picking up. And her request was that it be refunded or credited. My recommendation would be that it be refunded so that it's off the books and clear both ways.
Any other questions? So is this just like a booking error?
It
Of
is. I
sorts?
think this is one of those situations where the road to Hades is paved with good intentions. We endeavored to follow the rules to the best of our ability and mind. This has been some time back and several staff changes since. Current staff are well cognizant of the way it's supposed to work. So I'm grateful that she brought this to our attention in this fashion and documented it in the way that she did. She might be here. No. Okay. If not, then I leave it to the council. My recommendation is simply a motion for you to approve a refund.
I make a motion that we approve that refund.
Boots with the first,
I'll second.
and Anderson with the second.
Anderson?
Yes.
Spear?
Yes.
Lieber?
Yes.
McNeil? Boots?
Yes.
Okay, no problem. All right, so the next one, consideration of character counts program bumper stickers on city vehicles. Linda Beck will speak on that.
Thank you. Well, I was invited to attend a meeting with Lori Foley, who is the principal at the elementary here in town, and some teachers. And one of the things that we discussed, other cities in Iowa are very involved with the school system regarding character counts. And there are 6 principals, and I think often you see in the paper where a child will win an award for something that they've done beyond the scope of normalcy. And it's regarding trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, fairness, caring, and citizenship. And Lori had asked if we could partner, as does Johnson, I think New Hampton does. There are several cities in the state that partner with the schools. The first step, if you choose to partner with the school, there are bumper stickers that we could put on, as the other cities have done, on city vehicles that shows the community that we too are involved and understand the importance of all of us, that character does count. And I know that that would make the school system extremely happy, that the city is willing to take on this program as well. What I would do then in the future too, if you choose for me to go this direction, is look at other options that we can do that shows that our community is committed to character counts. So I looked into the bumper stickers. I did visit with department heads also to see if we could get some bumper stickers for our city vehicles. And it's $40. I guess the big question is this something that you want to take on with the Tipton School District?
I personally do. With my job, I see value in it every day, from coming up from the elementary school into the middle school. So,
And I think the
personally,
children
I'd be on
see
board
that.
with it. Yeah.
And they see that, we're all on board with them and the importance of their character and our character.
And they love seeing their picture in the paper.
Yes, they do. And they've done something very well to deserve that.
Here's the other question is, it's in your budget. I know it's only $40,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, that's only $40, yes, I do have that in the budget that I can afford to get those, yes.
all right. Then is there a motion to approve this, or
I would so move.
Thanks.
Spear with the first and Leaper with the second?
Spear?
Yes.
Lieber?
Yes.
McNeil? Boots?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
No
Yes,
problem.
That's wonderful, and I'm just gonna stand right here.
And the next one would be the street closing for touching a truck on September 10th.
Yes.
This is 20.
Yeah.
All kinds of trouble.
What it is, and Waterloo just did this. I don't know if you saw that in the Gazette. But many cities in the state also, they invite big equipment to come to their city where the children can get up close and personal with it. And this is something, I'm all about families, and I'm all about planting seeds in our young people that they remember their childhood and the things that we can do for them to make it a very pleasant childhood. So I would like to have this event. Now, one bad thing this weekend, I went to the Hawkeyes football schedule. And I know noticed on September 10th, Iowa versus Iowa State.
Ooh.
So I'm like, yikes. I was wondering that, I think that's gonna be an impossible date, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't go to the games, but a lot of people go to the games. If I could switch that perhaps to Sunday, September 11th. I have contacted some individuals in our community that they do have big equipment, and they are on board with this. I would like to ask if the city would also allow some of our city vehicles to be a part of this event. I know it's pretty exciting for kids really to see a garbage truck. I have a nephew that is like the highlight of his day when the garbage truck comes around. And it's important. And we have several pieces of equipment. I've also asked Cedar County. I'm going to be trying to get a cement truck, big tractors. I'm going to try to get several pieces of equipment. So I guess the first consideration would be if you will allow me to have this on September 11th, which is going to be a Sunday instead of September 10th because of that Iowa football game. Or if you don't see that as a problem, I can keep it for the 10th. I just want to make sure as many children can get here as possible.
I don't know. We had this back in Noblesville, and they cleared out a whole mall parking lot for it, and it was packed for like the 4 hours that it was there, and everybody had a good time. It was fun, yes.
You still do the 10
I may have to change the time now because of church, and so it will probably be like a 1 to 4 instead of. Is that okay? Okay. And then, so I have September 11th so far, 1 to 4. Next, I'm sure you're going to do this all in one motion. If you will allow for city vehicles to be a part of this event. And then the third request is going to be we need to barricade a street. If you would allow Cedar to Meridian to be barricaded. Hopefully every year we can do this and it will grow and grow and grow.
That's what I was going to ask you. Do you think that one block will be enough right now?
I don't know. I guess would you allow me to go Meridian also?
Even courthouse.
Yes. As long as.
Would you have to talk to the county to use the?
Yes,
Okay.
and I can do that. I have a connection. She's sitting up there. Yes, if that would be okay, because I am going to try to get a semi and and several big pieces here of equipment. So that's what that's about.
So then our motion would be for Sunday, September 11th, 1 to 4, use city vehicles and blocking off at least 5th Street from Cedar to Meridian. That sound about right?
Yes,
Okay.
perfect. And possibly more.
Can you leave that part of it open, just blocking off the streets that are
Or
needed?
needed.
Oh, yeah.
Because
Yeah,
if we
that's
have
what
some
we can do.
other, yeah.
So blocking off streets as needed.
I think that about the ambulance crew.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Ambulance, fire, police, we'll have lots. So, I mean, it's for all ages, obviously, but, we, want to gear with those children too, but it's for all ages to come.
All right, so is there a motion?
I think
Boots with the first,
I'll second.
and Spear with the second.
Leeper,
Yes.
McNeil, Booth,
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Spear.
Yes.
All right. there
Thank
go.
you.
Mhm.
You're gonna get a rat rod to be up there too?
Will you help me?
I know where there is one.
Okay.
It's a
Just help me.
pickup,
Okay.
old international pickup.
All right, then, down to the reports. I honestly don't really have anything this 2 weeks either, so then now the council reports.
Sedco met this last week. We did a review of the Iowa Workforce Development Leadership Analysis, which was very interesting. A lot of numbers out there. I do have a copy if anyone's interested in looking over that information. Also, Dawn Smith was at that meeting from the Board of Supervisors, and she is also on a mental health board. And Eastern Iowa region has started
city manager report.
Thanks, ma'am. It's August. It's darn near September, and Lorna does assure me that she is retiring in the spring, and as I've become more familiar with the scope and depth and complexity of the job she holds, it's occurred to me that it may be none too soon to start looking for a replacement. And I'm actually thinking about coming back with a proposal to look for a replacement sometime this fall. And I would not, and Laura and I spoke about this, I would not just have this person follow Lorna around, but rather would assign them specific tasks, such as assisting with budget analysis, helping with budget prep, working through the city's various TIF agreements and making sure we're square on those things. There is any number of things that just simply cannot be gotten to with the time and staff allowed. So I will probably come back to you with a more formal proposal on that, unless you're concerned about that. But I'm here to tell you your personal advantage, a very large, complex budget, and the little additional cost you'd spend now would save you a great deal down the road. So I'm seeing heads nodding, yes, we'll put together a proposal and bring it back to you. I just reiterate what Councilmember Boots said about the Iowa Workforce Development Labor Share Analysis. There's some great work done there. I think it would be really helpful to take that data about what kind of workers are available, what it takes to get people to relocate to this location. It's just a great baseline of information. Last week, we had a labor management review meeting and came away with reaffirming what we had discussed before signing the contract earlier in the spring, which is that we are to do phase 2 of the job and task analysis and job description refinement this fall yet. I was very pleased with the general outcome and tone of that meeting. There's been discussion in the boards that Linda Beck reports to about finding reasonable office space. And there's been a couple of proposals, and it occurred to us at City Hall that the city has a building which is in semi-derelict condition, and that's the old, it's either American Legion or VFW building, which is adjacent to City Hall. The mayor brought it to my attention as well, and so a couple of weeks back, we did a walkthrough with the city's building inspector and with a remediation specialist, and determined that while there is some minor mold, it's not impossible, and it was discussed between the four of us, considering just gutting the interior, removing all the old paneling and plaster, and saving as much as possible, and refurbishing that building and making that available as potential office space for the Chamber of Commerce Community Development Director office. The remediation contractor's swag estimate to gut that building properly so as not to create health problems for workers or anybody else was around $20,000. If we look at the $500 a month that is currently paid for the Chamber of Commerce Community Development office and amortize that over 20 years at an average rate of interest, that's equivalent of about $85,000. And $85,000, I think, would go some distance toward rehabbing that space into an office space and additional meeting space. It's a fairly large building. So it's something that I wanted to bring to your attention, and I'd like to explore a little further without spending any money or too much time to get some ideas of what that could be done for. I think that it does a couple of things. One, it puts a vacant and semi-derelict building that's in the city's ownership to a better use. And two, I think it sets a tone for what can be done with existing buildings that frankly we already own. And also, if we're going to be about enforcing building condition and structural situations in the community, I think we ought to try to set an example with our own buildings. So that's the observations that we came away from looking at that building, and I will leave it with you, and you can talk to me about it individually later, and unless I get some significant reason otherwise, we'll bring a proposal to you at some point to consider that in a formal way.
Tim, is that something that we can go through to see?
Oh yeah, anytime you'd like. Stop in, we'll get the key to the building, and be glad to walk you over there. Up to 2 of you at one time.
All right, thank you, Mr. Long. The department heads. All right, then this meeting has come to a close. Is there a motion for adjournment? Boots with the first. Anderson with the second.
McNeil? Boots? Yes. Peterson?
Yes.
Spear?
Yes.
Weaver?
Yes?
The meeting is adjourned.
Stewart.